Hi everyone, it's Vishaka here. I'm now here at our beautiful ashram in Italy on the outskirts of Milan after 4 months of lockdown in London. I've been reflecting how we've been discussing over these last few months many different problems that we're facing in the world today, socially, economically, environmentally, then on an individual level, mentally, physically. So many different problems can be considered in this world today. And we've also discussed some of the ways in which we can try to internally understand and adjust in relation to these issues that we find. But at the same time, it's natural that we will look for some type of practical solution. If there's a problem, then there must also be a solution. So it's nice to be able to internally adjust ourselves and understand why things are happening. We've discussed the law of karma. We've discussed the temporary nature of this world and these bodies. We've discussed this world as being a world of exploitation, inevitably. So we've discussed these different points which help us to adjust and understand these issues that we come up against in this world. But at the same time, the question naturally arises, what can we do about it? What can we do about it that is proactive and progressive and positive? So before we go to discuss that, we can first zoom out a little bit and look at this from a broader perspective. The Vedas of India, they describe how this world moves in a cycle of 4 different ages. Throughout the course of these 4 ages, society gradually becomes more and more degraded by the influence of time. And the Vedas also describe particular practices that suit the nature of the people and society at that time. So, for example, the first age is known as Satya Yuga, means the age of truth. So the people of Satya Yuga, as you can imagine from such a name, they're described as being extremely truthful, honest, righteous, and upright in their conduct. They have long duration of life. They have greater physical, mental, intellectual capacity. And correspondingly, a fairly difficult practice is prescribed as the highest means by which they can attain self-realization and as spiritual entities and connection with the divine. So that is yoga and meditation. Nowadays, these are 2 things which are increasing in popularity, but the truth is, we are not able, with our physical and mental capacity at the present moment, we were only able to practice a pseudo type of yoga and meditation. Okay, maybe there's a few very special people somewhere in the Himalayas who are real yogis according to the scriptural standard, but otherwise hardly anyone can really sustain that type of practice. It's said that in Satya Yuga, persons could maintain their life force for as long as their bones remained intact. And so even without food and water, for long ages of time, for years at a time, persons could remain within deep meditation. So that's Satya Yuga. Then in the next age, Treta Yuga, it's described that the recommended practice of the time is fire sacrifice. So very elaborate sacrifices with very rare, special ingredients and very qualified priests would be performed. The next age, worship of the deity, worship of a particular form of divinity is described as being the highest practice. And then this particular age, this brings us to Kali Yuga, the current age which we're in at present. And it's quite extraordinary because you can look at these scriptures which were put into writing over 5,000 years ago, and you see descriptions that perfectly correspond to what we're facing at present. Kali, the word Kali, comes from the word Kalaha, which means quarrel. So Kali Yuga means the age of quarrel, also sometimes referred to as the age of hypocrisy. So it is an age of great conflict, and I don't need to present any evidence in this regard. You can open the newspaper or step out of your house. It's also an age of great distraction. There's so much distraction, so much contamination within the atmosphere. Our senses are extremely strong. So we're pulled towards the superficial pleasures of this world in a very strong, intense way. So for these reasons, it's very difficult to engage in serious spiritual practice. And so for that reason, a very simple practice, that is the practice of kirtan, has been prescribed for the upliftment of all souls at this time of extreme degradation and disturbance and exploitation. There's a Charles Dickens novel that begins with this wonderful phrase, "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times." That's what we find in Kali, in this current age of Kali Yuga. It is an extremely degraded time, but because it is so degraded, the Lord has invested such mercy at this time that only through this simple practice of kirtan, chanting, calling upon the holy names of the Lord, one can achieve all success. And our Gurudev used to point out that this practice of chanting, of singing sacred songs, we see it through many different religious systems, spiritual systems. We see it in Christianity, we see it in Islam, we even see it in Buddhism, that there's some practice of chanting. I've had beautiful experiences visiting churches and hearing this wonderful chanting that goes on. There's something very natural about calling out to divinity through the medium of song as an expression of love and prayer and seeking some mercy and realizing a connection. Our Gurudev also pointed out that it is actually natural for all souls to be attracted towards a higher power and to, as an outcome of appreciation for that, express some praise. You know, we can look at this within a religious or spiritual context, but you actually see it throughout every sphere of life. You know, if you take, for example, a rock star or a movie star, you see the type of adoration that comes from the hearts of their fans. You're astonished. You know, that's actually an expression of intense devotion. Look at love songs. That is an expression of kirtan. It is an expression of devotion, of glorification, coming in contact with something praiseworthy. Naturally, our heart is inspired to express itself in loving song. Our Gurudev also pointed out how if we look in Aboriginal cultures, the persons are looking in the natural environment around them, and they're seeing, oh, the sky is so great, the ocean is so great, the earth is so great, the sun, the moon, and they're naturally compelled to express appreciation, praise, and worship. So in the practice of Krishna consciousness, we're recognizing Krishna as the source of all this beauty, all this wonder, and directing our praise to that central source. There's a verse in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Yad Yad Vibhuti Mat Sattvam, Srimad Orjitam Evava Tat Tare Vava Gachatam, Mamate Jamsa Sambhavam. Krishna is saying, know that everything that you see in this world, everything that is beautiful, everything that is wonderful, that is astonishing, it is all but a spark of my splendor. I am the source of that. So in our practice, we're recognizing this glory, this beauty, and we're directing it towards its source through the medium of song. And in doing this, there's some special potency invested which will help us to awaken our own inner treasure, our own spiritual nature, and consolidate that natural relationship with divinity. In particular, there is one mantra which is described as the Maha Mantra, the great mantra, supreme mantra, especially for this particular age. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And this is a very special mantra because it is a very complete, it is a mantra, it is expressing the highest manifestation of the absolute truth, in that it describes the divine reality of both the divine male aspect, Sri Krishna, and the divine feminine aspect, Sri Radha. And it is also couched grammatically in the vocative, which we don't actually have in English, but it's couched in this case of calling out. It is calling out to them in a mood of prayer, and asking for their merciful descent, asking for them to mercifully reveal themselves within our hearts. And so through this medium, this wonderful medium of kirtan, which cannot be obstructed by anything within the environment. This is what is so special about it. Sound is independent of this material atmosphere. Nothing, no disturbance in this world can obstruct the flow of sound. And wherever we are, whoever we are, whatever situation we're in, mentally, verbally, individually, or collectively, we can engage in this wonderful practice of calling out to the Lord. So just to conclude, we can consider that, yes, we're facing a terrible time within the history of this world, but such great hope has been given to us by the Lord, by the saints, by the ancient scriptures. And so we invite everyone, as we are trying ourselves, to avail ourselves of this great opportunity to experience the purifying potency of divine sound. Thank you very much for tuning in, and meet you next time.